Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's go over what is happening, what we can expect moving into next week, and yeah, all that good stuff. Also keep in mind, next week, Monday, the market is closed, so just FYI. I think it's what, George Washington's birthday, I think it is, or something like that. Anyways, I'm Canadian, so obviously I'm not American. But nonetheless, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, my thoughts on the charts, my updates, or whatever the case may be, I do have a membership section on YouTube. That link, of course, is down below in the first line of the description of every single video, where if you click it, you can get access to my membership section on YouTube, where I share my thoughts every day on the markets. Obviously, mainly in Tesla, of course, naturally. Lately, I've been sharing more things recently. Like today, I did Microsoft. I talked about Google. Well, Google was a few days ago. Amazon, even Marvell today. Yeah, just $3 a month. So if you're interested, the link is below. Definitely check it out. But Tesla, of course, is the main focus. Or for $5, you get access to the second tier, which of course includes everything in the first tier plus NVIDIA daily updates. But nonetheless, jumping into it, Tesla closing the day pretty much flat, actually down 0.01%, pretty much closing at the same price, as yesterday. So what does this actually mean moving forward for Tesla stock, right? Is this good? Is this bad? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? What's going on for Tesla stock? Well, let me go ahead. I have a lot of things turned on, right? Well, it looks like it's a lot of things, but they're actually all essentially the same. I just overlap them because I don't know. I'm used to reading it like this. It's essentially just overlapped. But nonetheless, I'm going to take it off just so it's not too annoying for you guys and keep it a little more simple like this. And I will turn this one back on. So pretty much Tesla is looking like this, right? So, ultimately what happened was, intraday wise, let's just go back to the intraday. You can see we did break out of the market bias on the 1 hour time frame. You can see it held us as resistance for quite some time, this whole little situation here. We finally ended up breaking out of it yesterday, and then today we came back into it, and so far so good. So we had that nice little push up, quick little small retrace, and I do expect a pretty sharp move to the upside. In theory, of course, I mean, no one knows for sure, but I do expect, as of right now, especially as long as we pretty much hold this kind of like 348-ish, 350-ish, like that $2 to $3-ish range, which the past 2 days we have, right? We broke out, held it here, came back in, again, held it today. As long as we continue holding this little range right here, yeah, I expect Tesla to move higher. Plain and simple, I expect it to move higher. I expect it to move pretty much back well into this cloud over here. And ultimately, I expect it to move well back into this range I've been talking about for quite some time. Or not quite some time, it's been only a couple of days. But nonetheless, this range right here, that's pretty much 370s, right? Again, I don't know exactly to what level, but somewhere in the 370s, maybe even closer to like actually, 380 itself, maybe peaking its head slightly above 380, ever so slightly, right? Is kind of my main target, and I think the best case realistic target for next week will be close to 390. That's like a little bit of a push in my opinion. I don't know if we'll get that high, but that will be like the best case, the realistic best case scenario, which will essentially be a retest of this trend line that has resisted us essentially several times already, and another move back up to here wouldn't be too surprising. It's just, how fast does it happen, right? If it happens like literally on Monday, well, that can make us, come back into it on, to 390. If it happens, let's say, I don't know, by like Thursday or Friday, then, it's like mid 380s, right? So it just depends on when it happens since it's naturally descending. So let's, continue monitoring that for now and see how that goes. You can see the MACD starting to get a bit of curling action. Stochastic on the daily has officially flipped bearish despite today's technically red day. Which is good, right? RSI is kind of back to neutral, so it's not, oversold or overbought or anything like that. It's neutral, almost like it's as if it's kind of setting up its own little bull flag potentially. We'll see, of course. I'm just kind of joking around there, but not really. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm not even sure if I am. I'll be honest. But nonetheless, RSI looking neutral, so it's a good sign in a way. But yeah, pretty simple stuff. As long as we hold that range, around today's low, I do expect us to ultimately continue making our way higher a little bit to the 370s. Plain and simple. Now, that's where the real test comes in though, right? This is like, that's where like we really get to start to find out, like, is this the actual bottom or not, right? Because again, you have to understand, there is still a very real possibility that this kind of low that we set down here close to like, we'll say 330, 320s, whatever, there is a chance that that's not the low still, right? There absolutely is a possibility of that. And the only way to, in my opinion at least, to really confirm, at least for the next little bit, right? At least for the next little bit, that this is the bottom, and then you most likely won't be going lower than this for a while, or for a little bit at least, for at least a few weeks, or maybe even a couple months or so. It will be a breakout, right? It will be a breakout essentially above very high 380s to closer to 390. and essentially this, mean reversion line getting essentially turning back to green. You can see ever since we broke down below it and it turned red, the mean reversion line has been resisting us the whole time, right? So that's kind of the main test right here. This general, 370s to as high as 390 is that major area of potential major resistance. If we break above that, most likely come back, retest, and at the very least, I think we'll make our way higher. And honestly, at that point, we can actually start having conversations about potentially even retesting, high 400s, maybe even all-time highs, right? Like that's when we can start having that conversation. I do think it's a little bit too early to have that conversation personally, mainly because, well, at the end of the day, we are still technically, inside this downward channel, right? And as long as we're within this downward channel, there is still a possibility that we come up to this general range I just talked about, and we reject, and not only reject, severely reject, well below, like much lower, essentially, is what I'm trying to say, right? Much lower. And, we could easily make our way back down closer to the 300s even, right? Because again, you have to understand, if I bring out this, you can see that 200 EMA is actually sitting pretty much at $300 per share. We could get a rejection and come down to it and retest that, right? So that is just a possibility that, I'm keeping open, right? I don't know if it'll happen. Nobody knows if it'll actually happen or not, but I think it's a very realistic possibility of happening as long as we essentially remain in this channel and essentially below this kind of sideways horizontal resistance and supply essentially that I've talked about, for the first half of the video essentially, right? So let's watch for that moving forward, right? That's gonna be pretty important stuff to watch. Now, go back to the weekly though. The weekly is looking not too shabby, right? Why is the weekly not looking too shabby? Well, it finally came down to that mean reversion, right? Remember back when we were still trading all the way up here, for the longest time, I've been talking about how I wanted to come back down into here. Like I wanted to revert to the mean, like it needs to revert to the mean. Like that's when I'm going to feel a little bit more confident. And it did. And not only did it do that, it obviously shows some, decent buying pressure throughout the week, right? Clearly showing that people stepped in and the buyers and the bulls essentially did step in for the stock and, they bought it up, right? Which is good. Printing a potential reversal doji candle as well. Let's see how that actually plays out. But the weekly is not looking bad. I do like the fact that it's within this market bias. I do like the fact that it's holding and is showing some good buying pressure. And yeah, I do like the look on the weekly. I like that the RSI is back to the lower end of the region here. Personally, I prefer buying when RSIs are down here, and I prefer selling, or at the very least selling covered calls when the RSIs are up here. Pretty simple stuff, right? And we're definitely towards the lower end. Can we go lower? Yes. Can we still make our way down further? Yes. But I don't think we will. I'll be completely honest. I don't know. It's like, I don't want to say if I think we will or not. I don't know. I generally don't know. But what I do know is as long as we remain below this level, you'd be a fool not to at least take that into account, that is a very realistic possibility, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I'm looking at it, to really put it simple. But, short-term speaking, I do expect, as early as, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. I don't know how fast it'll happen, but I do expect to move back up into this 370s region at least, potentially even peeking our head into the 380s. I'd be surprised if we don't, personally speaking, but we'll see. Of course, you never know for sure. But that's my expectation as of right now. Taking a look at options flow, wow, some nice call flow actually came in towards the end of the day here. 1.8 million, 1.2 million, 1.3 million all came in. But the one I really care about, actually, if I'm not mistaken here, let me take one more peek at it. Yeah, a lot of calls came in for Tesla stock actually into next week. I'd like to see that quite a bit actually, a 1.3 and a 1.2 million. So essentially 2.5 million worth of calls came in on Tesla stock, a 335 strike. So it is obviously slightly in the money, but not too far in the money, honestly. It is in the money, but it's not like, severely in the money, like a 250 strike or something like that. But nonetheless, I like to see this. I like to see that. And it's the main thing I like to see is the fact that it's expiring. If I'm not mistaken, as long as I'm not misreading it somehow, it does say 02/21/2025. Let me just confirm that is next week. That does seem to be for next week, which is pretty damn good actually. I do like to see that 2.5 million calls for next week. Hey, sign me up. I'm down for that. So clearly someone else probably expects Tesla to make its way up well into that 370s region. So I have to say, I agree. I do agree in that. I do think there's a much higher chance it does than does not. Yeah, so let's see how that plays out. I'm feeling pretty good. And honestly, if we open up with any weakness coming in to Tuesday in the morning, let's say we open up in the morning with a little bit of weakness, maybe we come down to the high 340s again. I actually might add to my position, honestly, because I'm pretty confident we should make our way higher. At the very least, one more move out higher up here. I'd be very surprised if we don't. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think down below. Tesla is confirmed bullish flow of almost 15 million, which is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, not much more to add. So let's see what happens from here. See you all on Tuesday. Have a great long weekend. And yeah, see you then.